The 2026 global indexes have been released, and the raw data presents a deeply fragmented, contradictory picture of India's position on the world stage. Two distinct narratives exist simultaneously. One describes an inevitable future superpower, the other a developing nation struggling for basic stability. This chart maps the divide. The left side follows the superpower narrative, fourth in GDP, fourth in global firepower, first in IT exports. The right side plots a struggling state, second worst in air quality, 102 in global hunger, and 151st in press freedom. Memorizing these individual rankings is a waste of time without understanding how they interact. A high GDP and a low hunger index are not isolated facts. They are part of the same structural map. We are going to map these indexes to reveal the specific trade-offs driving India's trajectory. This will show exactly where the country is investing its political capital and what it is sacrificing to hit its geopolitical targets. We'll start by mapping our data across impact versus vulnerability. In the top right quadrant, we find India's high-impact hard power metrics. The defense strategy is clear: massive investment in conventional strength. The SIPRI Arms Import Report ranks India as a top global importer, pouring capital into advanced military hardware. This focus on a heavy, mechanized force secures immense geopolitical leverage and hardens regional deterrence against neighboring threats. But that deterrence comes with a cost. These foreign defense contracts tie up vast portions of the national budget, pulling resources away from domestic social programs. The economic strategy follows a similar concentrated path. Growth is driven largely by the service sector, which is expanding at 9.3%, fueled by rapid digital infrastructure adoption. These tech hubs and corporate centers generate the wealth that pushes the total GDP toward $4.19 trillion and secures India's spot as the top exporter of IT services. However, this type of tech-driven expansion often results in jobless growth. Digital sectors generate massive revenue with a relatively small workforce. This concentrates gains at the top, leaving hundreds of millions of citizens outside the high-wage economy. The hard power strategy is succeeding exactly as designed. It secures global influence, but it inherently relies on wealth and security concentrating at the absolute top of society. When we shift to the bottom left quadrant, we see the high vulnerability of the country's human infrastructure. There are measurable successes here. Large-scale welfare programs have successfully pushed the multidimensional poverty index down to 0.061. This means millions are escaping extreme poverty, with states like Kerala reaching near poverty-free status. However, lifting families out of extreme poverty does not solve the long-term lag in nutrition and health, which is why India still ranks 102nd on the Global Hunger Index. We see a similar gap in the education and innovation metrics. At the top tier, elite research institutions like the IITs produce world-class talent, pushing the Global Innovation Index up to 38th. But the standard public education system serving the vast majority of children struggles with basic resources. This disparity anchors the overall Human Development Index at 130th. Governance bottlenecks create further issues, notably the 151st rank on the World Press Freedom Index. Local journalism operates under significant constraints, limiting the transparency and ground-level accountability needed for a healthy democracy. While the absolute floor of extreme poverty has been raised, the foundational health, education, and informational freedoms required for a future-ready workforce are stalled. This brings us to the harshest reality check in the 2026 data: the environmental cost. To reach a $4.19 trillion GDP, the state has prioritized rapid, capital-intensive industrialization and high energy consumption. This aggressive infrastructure rollout is visible in every major metropolitan center as cities expand at record speed to support new economic zones. The direct consequence is severe environmental degradation, leaving India ranked second worst in the world on the Air Quality Life Index. In Delhi, PM 2.5 levels sit at a hazardous 84.3 micrograms per cubic meter. This hazardous smog forms a physical landscape that dictates the daily lives of everyone moving through India's primary economic hubs. While climate policy shows intent, the actual adoption of renewable energy still scores low on the ground. India is currently subsidizing its rapid economic expansion with a public health crisis that shortens the life expectancies of the very workforce driving the GDP. This matrix ties the data together. India is successfully executing a hard power-first playbook, prioritizing macroeconomic scale and defense over internal social development. For those preparing for the UPSC, do not memorize these numbers in isolation. Use the gap between the Global Innovation Index at 38th and the HDI at 130th to build arguments regarding the bottlenecks in inclusive growth. For policy analysts and investors, you must discount the top-line GDP growth against these environmental and social governance lags. High GDP offers immediate opportunity, but poor air quality and unequal education represent long-term structural risk. The 2026 global rankings prove India has mastered the metrics of scale and geopolitical leverage, but the decisive challenge for its future stability is whether it can now master the metrics of quality.